Today, American President Donald Trump publicly stated that from now on, taking down the Russian dictator Putin for his war against Ukraine is personal. The Russian dictator insulted the United States president the previous day. Trump stated that it was personally humiliating for him when the Kremlin did not respond in any way to his new deadline and ultimatum. In the United States, they insist that ignoring Trump was a catastrophic mistake by Putin, because now the ego of the American president has been hurt. And Trump has already gone all out, stating that from now on he doesn't care how the oil market will react to his new tariffs against buyers of Russian oil. He said that if necessary, the United States can increase its own oil production or endure higher prices. And importantly, today Trump acted preemptively and imposed the first 25% tariffs against India for buying Russian oil and unexpectedly Russian weapons. And he warned that this is just the beginning. My name is Alexei Pichi. Today is July 30th. Now let's discuss this topic in detail together. But before we start, I ask you to subscribe to this channel, like the video, leave any comment, and be sure to subscribe to my Telegram channel, Peachy News. The link is in the description of this video. There we publish breaking news as it comes in. So Trump has basically admitted that Putin personally insulted him, and now the fight against the Russian dictator is something personal. And now that this has become obvious, the Kremlin suddenly backtracked and is asking for more time to reach a peace agreement. But let's go through everything step by step here. As you know from prior episodes on this channel, Trump yesterday on July 29th stated that from that day he is giving Russia exactly 10 days to peacefully resolve the war in Ukraine. Moreover, this became the final deadline because earlier, on July 28th, as you remember, Trump gave Russia 10 to 12 days, but added that he would announce the exact dates later. And now he has announced them. That's it. The official countdown has begun. Interestingly, Trump decided to slightly soften his rhetoric one final time, even within this deadline. Quote, "We are going to impose tariffs and so on, and I don't know if this will affect Russia because Putin obviously wants to continue the war. We will impose tariffs and secondary sanctions. It might affect them, it might not, but it's possible." So Trump still left a window of opportunity open for Putin, but then something unthinkable for Donald Trump happened. The Kremlin did not respond to Trump's ultimatum in any way, except for the drunken outbursts of Russia's main alcoholic, Dmitry Medvedev, which started it all. Trump called Putin's lack of any reaction to his ultimatum on Ukraine a disgrace. Quote, "I didn't get any response from Putin. It's a disgrace. The death toll has risen from 5,000 to 7,000 people per week. Bombs are falling on civilians. This war is terrible, but there is no response." So, as you understand, Trump was still waiting for a reaction, and that's why he softened his rhetoric. And let me remind you that on July 28th, Trump was asked, you said that Putin respects you, but it turns out he doesn't if he disappoints you like this. Well, and then came the direct question. Do you still think he respects you considering your pleasant conversations? To which Trump replied, quote, "Yes, I always got along with President Putin. I had a great relationship with him, and he also went through this Russia hoax. We used to talk about this. We said it's a pity that we can't do anything between our countries, because if we did, people would say, oh, that's some kind of miracle. Listen, I was tough on Putin because I shut down Nord Stream and Biden opened it. I was very tough on Putin in one sense, but we got along very well. And I would never, I never thought something like this would happen. I thought we could work something out. And maybe it will still happen, but now it's already very late, so I'm disappointed." In the end, yesterday, Donald Trump said directly, he's not just disrespecting me, meaning Putin, he's also ignoring me. And this is the most important thing. Trump stated that he doesn't care about the reaction of energy markets to the potential introduction of new sanctions against Russia. Quote, "No, I don't care about that at all. We have so much oil in our country, we'll just increase oil production, and that's what matters." Trump says he doesn't care about a possible increase in oil prices when the United States imposes 100% tariffs on buyers of Russian oil. He says now it's personal, so any methods are fair game. And now, in this situation, analysts from the Institute for the Study of War write that Kremlin officials have firmly rejected the new deadline proposed by United States President Donald Trump for Russia to negotiate an end to the war against Ukraine, and have once again stated Moscow's interest in continuing the war. In particular, the deputy chairman of the Security Council of Russia, Russia's chief alcoholic Dmitry Medvedev, stated on his English-language social media account that Trump cannot dictate the timing of peace negotiations and that the talks will end when Russia achieves all of its military objectives. Well, probably referring to Russia's original military objectives, including a change of government in Ukraine, altering NATO's open-door policy, and reducing the armed forces of Ukraine, to such an extent that it would never be able to defend itself again. Kremlin spokesman Dmitry Peskov also stated that Russia will continue the war against Ukraine to protect some of its interests, despite Trump announcing a new 10-day deadline. Peskov said that there is currently a slowdown in the process of normalizing Russian-American relations, that the Kremlin is still interested in this normalization, and that progress will require efforts from both sides. Peskov said that the current state of Russian-American relations is hindering the process of negotiations on extending the new Strategic Arms Reduction Treaty. As you can see, the Kremlin is beginning to issue threats. Previously, the Kremlin offered the prospect of incentives not related to the war in Ukraine at all, such as bilateral arms control talks and economic projects, in order to get concessions from the United States regarding the war in Ukraine. Peskov's statement about the deterioration of Russian-American relations and the new Strategic Arms Reduction Treaty. But they are probably part of efforts aimed at making Trump abandon his 10-day deadline in favor of normalizing bilateral relations and expanding cooperation. Who has been subscribed to this channel for a long time? You know, I've been saying for several months now that the Kremlin's negotiation strategy with the Americans was to shift the focus as much as possible to bilateral relations, so that only Putin and Trump would deal with bilateral issues like trade, arms, and so on. And so that at some point the issue of Russia's war against Ukraine would be pushed far into the background. Moreover, so that at some point these bilateral relations would be improving so much that Trump could say, listen, actually, Ukraine is getting in our way, so let's just drop it and that's it. That was basically the Kremlin's original plan. And if you follow the whole chain of negotiations, they were trying in every possible way to conduct exactly bilateral relations, meaning even without the Europeans, not to mention Ukraine. However, the entire narrative has now begun to unravel significantly. Now, the Russians have also brought up the topic of new Strategic Arms Reduction Treaty. The Institute for the Study of War maintains its assessment that the Kremlin has no interest in negotiations aimed at ending the war. Rather, it aims to extend the Ukraine war to secure more battlefield victories. And this means that the Kremlin considers Trump to be weak and is simply fooling him. And I think Trump has finally realized this. So I'll leave it at that for now. Share your opinions and conclusions in the comments below this episode. Subscribe to the channel, hit the bell, and don't forget to like. If you want to support the work of this channel, you can do so with any donation using the links and details in the description of this video or by using the QR code on your screen. That's all for now. Take care. Goodbye, everyone. Subtitles created by